Hello students, today we are going to learn the next poem of your course, A Thing of Beauty, Joy Forever, written by John Keats. Beauty is truth, truth is beauty. That is all we know on earth and that is all we need to know. Asserted by John Keats. John Keats was a worshipper of beauty. His religion was beauty, and love for beauty was a dominant note of all his poetries, from Endymion to Hyperion or Vision. His imagination got excited by beauty, and he was at its best in the presence of beauty. Wordsworth, P.B. Shelley, Coleridge were all his contemporaries and were the worshippers of nature. You have read all these writers in classes 9th and 10th, isn't it? You have read Solitary Reaper by Wordsworth in class 9th, Rime of Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge in class 10th, Ozymandias by P.B. Shelley in class 10th, and all these writers were the worshippers of nature. Of all the greatest poets of early 19th century, Keats was the last one to take birth and first one to die. Born in the year 1795 in the city of London to a poor stable keeper, he was brought up amid surroundings and influences calculated by no means to awaken a poetic genius. Rendered an orphan at a very tender age of 15, he was apprenticed as a surgeon by one of his guardians, Mr. Abbey. Although when he was of age, he abandoned surgeon, medical profession, and he chose poetry as he realized that poetry was his true vocation. Alright, and he was motivated, he was inspired by his friends Leigh Hunt, Haydn, etc., and he started publishing his volumes of poetry in 1870. Braving his ill health, financial constraints, and hostile criticism for his second volume of poetry, he continued undeterred and gave his best creation, the greatest odes, in the last phase of his life. Keats breathed his last in February 1821, and he was rated, and he is rated, one of the greatest poets of England. Keats was suffering from tuberculosis. In fact, his entire family was suffering from tuberculosis, and at that time there was no cure for tuberculosis. He knew he's about to die, so he was searching for solace and peace that he found in nature, and he had appreciated the beauty of nature. This was a small introduction of John Keats, the writer of A Thing of Beauty, Joy Forever. Moving next, children, let me introduce you all to the poem A Thing of Beauty, Joy Forever. This poem is an excerpt of a long poem, Endymion, a poetic romance, published in 1818. Alright, this poem is a classical Greek myth of the moon goddess Cynthia and a young shepherd, Endymion. According to this classical poem, the moon goddess Cynthia descended on earth to kiss her beloved who was sleeping in his everlasting youth on Mount Latmus. Alright, and this young shepherd, Endymion, resolved to seek her and wandered in forests, under the water, everywhere. Keats has himself told to his friend, he himself told his friend once that Endymion was the test of his power of imagination, invention, creation. So this is one of the best poems of John Keats. This poem has been interpreted as an allegory, a quest of human soul for ideal beauty. Here, Endymion stands for human, Cynthia stands for ideal beauty, and moon stands for the manifestation of beauty of nature. Alright, now A Thing of Beauty, Joy Forever is a voice of the writer for the love of beauty. He has voiced his love for beauty through this poem. According to the poet John Keats, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. whatever you consider is beautiful will give you joy throughout your life. Its charm will, enchant you throughout the life. You will always remember that, you will always cherish that, and that thing of beauty will never turn into nothingness. All right, you will always cherish that thing of beauty, whatever is the thing of beauty for you. It may be nature, it may be animals, it may be flowers, it may be, moon, it may be sun. Whatever is the thing of beauty, it is a source of joy for you throughout your life, and it will never turn into nothingness. All right, it will be like a bower in your memories. It will hover in your memories, even if you are sleeping, even if you are meditating, even if you are at your best health. It will always stay in your mind. Whatever enchants you, whatever is a source of beauties for you, will always be there in your mind, and that will, strengthen your connection, your bond to this earth. All right, so in this poem we get to know that how a thing of beauty is joy forever. Its charm will never turn into nothingness, and it will continue giving you joy forever. All right, and that will become a reason for your bond on this earth, with this earth. All right, that thing of beauty is tying you with this earth. All right, children, despair and disappointments are integral part of, human life. Clear? We get disappointed, we get sad, and we, get hurt because of the dearth of goodness, and because of the dearth of noble natures. We find so less people who possess goodness, right? And we are, sad because of the selfish nature of humans. And that one thing that gives us joy is the source of beauty, is the beauty of nature. All right, nature has, the power, the transformational power, therapeutic power. All right, it can heal us, it can transform us, even when we are in our sad mood. And if we go in nature, if we, find solace and peace in nature, all our stress vanishes, isn't it? Definitely, nature is, has a therapeutic power, has transformational power, right? It transforms our stresses into peace and solace. Clear? This is what has been mentioned in this poem, because for John Keats, the thing of beauty was nature. Clear? Now, in this poem, he has also mentioned that sun, moon, flowers, trees, they are source of beauty for even species like sheep. All right, the daffodils that grow in forests, in waters, they give us, everlasting joy. They give us, their sight gives us happiness. Not only this, children, even the stories of the death of people who have sacrificed themselves for a noble cause, that also is a thing of beauty according to poet. All right, the stories that we hear of the death of people who have sacrificed themselves, they are like, fountain which is pouring out immortal drink, and we all should drink that immortal drink. This is what has been mentioned in the poem Thing of Beauty, Joy Forever, written by John Keats. So this was a small introduction of the poem. Children, now we are going to move forward. We are going to learn the poem line by line in detail. Simultaneously, I am going to tell you the word meanings and the poetic devices that have been used in the poem. Now children, we are going to learn this poem in detail, line by line, and simultaneously I am going to tell you the word meanings and the poetic devices that have been used in the poem. All right. Now children, in this poem we have learned that how a beauty is a source of joy, everlasting joy, eternal joy. Anything that we find is beautiful is a source of joy and eternal happiness. It is always lurking in our minds, all right? It revives in our memories. It flashes upon our memories whenever we are sleeping, even if we are meditating, even if we are, in our best health. It is always there in our mind. It leaves an indelible imprint on our minds. All right, it gives us immense happiness that will never last. It is everlasting and eternal. This is the power of beauty. It has therapeutic powers, right? What do you mean by therapeutic powers, children? Therapeutic powers means, it can heal us. If we are not in good health, nature has that therapeutic power to heal us even. All right, so this is also the theme of this poem, that nature, which gives us everlasting and eternal joy, it has the ability to heal us. It has the therapeutic power. It leaves an indelible imprint in our mind, and that joy will always be in our mind. It will always lurk in our mind. It will always revive and flash upon our memories. So this is what we have learned. Now I am going to teach you this poem, children, line by line. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. This I have already told you. Whatever is a thing of beauty, it can be sun, it can be moon, it can be flowers, it can be animals, anything. Whatever is the thing of beauty for you, for me, for the poet, it is nature, isn't it? So whatever is the thing of beauty is a source of joy. All right, it is something that gives us immense happiness, solace, calmness, peace. So it is a source of joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness. Whatever you find is beautiful, that will give you joy and happiness forever. It is not short-lived, children. It is something that gives us happiness entire life. It is everlasting, all right? It is eternal, and it will never turn into nothingness. We will never want to move away from nature. As poet John Keats always wanted to spend his time in nature, because nature was the thing of beauty for him, and it gave him eternal joy and happiness, right? It gave him everlasting joy and happiness. So that nature never turned into nothingness for him. He never considered nature as nothing. All right, he always found joy and happiness whenever he was in nature. Nature left an indelible imprint on the mind of John Keats, and that is what he had penned down on papers. All right. But it will keep a bower quiet for us. Now, what do you mean by bower, children? A quiet place, a shady place under the tree. All right, a place where it is, shady and it is under the trees. So, what is it? A thing of beauty is like that shade. It will always be in our minds. It will always, revive and flash upon our minds. Just as a bower is above us, we get shade, all right? We find solace, the serenity we find. In the same way, when you are with a thing of beauty, you find that same solace and same calmness, same joy. It is always flashing in your memories. The way you find solace under a tree, under the shade of a tree. So, but it will keep a bower quiet for us. So that thing of beauty is like a shade for you. It is always there in your memory, and a sleep full of sweet dreams. Now, thing of beauty is akin or is similar to the sweet dream that you see while sleeping. All right, how happy you feel when you see a very sweet dream. How happy you are when you have seen a lovely dream. In the same way, the thing of beauty gives you joy, all right, whenever you are with it. If the thing of beauty for you is nature, right, then it will always give you happiness equal to the happiness that you get after seeing a sweet dream, a sweet sleep you have, all right. Whenever you sleep good, you feel so fresh, all right, you feel so serene, you feel so happy. In the same way, same happiness you feel when you are with your thing of beauty. All right, children, the thing of beauty differs from person to person. And for John Keats, what was thing of beauty, children? Thing of beauty for John Keats was nature. All right. And health and quiet breathing. Thing of beauty can help us to stay healthy because it gives us joy, it gives us happiness, and happiness can make you feel healthy. It gives us quiet breathing. As I have told you, for John Keats, the thing of beauty was nature. And can nature give us a healthy breathing? Yes. Can nature give us good health? Yes. Can nature give us good sleep? Yes. So if nature is thing of beauty, definitely it is equal to sweet dreams, sweet sleep, good health, a healthy body. So a thing of beauty gives us joy, which is equal to sweet dreams, health, quiet breathing. All right. He has compared your thing of beauty to all these things: sweet dream, healthy body, quiet breathing, everything. All right, because it gives us similar kind of happiness as these three things gives us. So in the first paragraph, what have we studied, children? We have studied that a thing of beauty is a source of joy forever. It gives us eternal happiness, eternal solace, eternal calmness, all right, eternal peace, and it will never turn into nothingness. And it is like a bower in our memories. The memory of the thing of beauty. If it is flowers, all right, so that sight of flowers will always give you joy when it will be in your memories, isn't it? In the same way, if the thing of beauty for you is trees, all right, that sight of trees will always flash upon your memories, and you will find happiness whenever you will think about it, and that happiness will be everlasting, that happiness will be eternal. In this paragraph, John Keats has also compared the joy that we receive from the thing of beauty to sweet dreams, to good health, to quiet breathing, right? The way we feel when we are healthy, in the same way we feel when we are with the thing of beauty. It can be nature, of course. Therefore, on every morrow are we reading a flowery band to bind us to the earth. Alright, now here what are we getting, children? That despair and disappointments are the integral part of human nature, isn't it? Every next day is forcing us to come across something that we do not like. We come across disappointments, we come across selfish nature of humans, all right, we come across darkness, we come across gloomy ways, gloomy environment, and the one thing that we search for after all this is a thing of beauty. All right, that the one thing that gives us peace after facing all this, after facing selfish nature of people, after facing darkness, after facing gloomy environment, after facing so much disappointments, the one thing that gives us joy is the thing of beauty. And here the thing of beauty is nature. Now here, therefore on every morrow, morrow means tomorrow, are we wreathing? Wreathing means a circle of flowers woven together. Like this, it is a circle and there are flowers all around. So it is a wreathing. Alright. So we are connected to nature, right? Because we have to face disappointments, despair, selfish natures of people. Alright, because goodness is so hard to find on earth. Noble natures are so hard to find on earth. So we definitely come across selfish nature of people time and again. We come across disappointments. We come across darkness. We are so sad at times. And what can give us happiness is the thing of beauty. Therefore, on every morrow are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth. And what binds us to the earth, children? The thing of beauty. Clear? Now, this source of joy is binding us to earth. Spite of despondence, spite means the thing that causes pain. Alright, is in spite of, feeling pain. Despondence means in spite of losing hopes, alright, of the inhuman death, the scarcity of the noble natures. Death means scarcity, kami. Okay. Now here, even if we find less people having goodness, even if we find, despondence. Despondence means even if we lose hope, alright. Even if we find scarcity of noble natures, people having noble natures. Even if we come across gloomy days, gloomy means sad days, of all the unhealthy and overdarkened ways, we definitely sometimes become unhealthy. We are not at our best health. Alright, sometimes we come across darkness and we always try to find a way to happiness. And what can give you happiness? The thing of beauty. Nature. Alright, so this is what the writer is trying to explain us, that definitely if we are humans, we are bound to face the gloomy days, the selfish natures of people, disappointments and whatnot, but still that one thing that gives us joy is the thing of beauty. So in these two paragraphs, the importance of the thing of beauty has been mentioned by writer. Word meanings, children. Bower means a pleasant place under the tree, the shady place under the tree. Morrow here means tomorrow. Wreathing means a flowery band. Alright. Spite means causing pain. Despondence means lose of hope. Dearth means scarcity and gloomy means sad. So these were the word meanings, and let's now learn the poetic devices that have been used. The rhyming scheme is A, A, B, B, C, C and so on. Like forever, never. They are rhyming with each other. These two lines are rhyming with each other. Keep, sleep. These two lines are rhyming with each other, isn't it? Now, so the A, A, B, B, C, C is the rhyming scheme. Let's see other poetic devices, children. Metaphor. Now, bower here is the, shade of that memory of thing of beauty. But bower in reality means what? The shade under the tree. But here what has it been compared to? The shade of the memory of the thing of beauty. So here metaphor has been used. Now here sleep and sweet. Alliteration, right? What is alliteration? The occurrence of the same letter in the beginning of two adjacent or closely related words. So here S, S, alliteration. It is same consonant sound at the beginning of two words, right? Now inversion. What do you mean by inversion, children? Sometimes when we shift the words, the helping verbs, or we shift or we use incorrect grammar in a sentence, which the writer has the right to do. A writer who is writing the poem can shift the words in a sentence which may be grammatically incorrect, but he has the right to do so. That right is known as inversion. Here It should be we are wedding ourselves to the earth. The line means that we are binding ourselves to the earth. But the writer has shifted these two words, has changed the places of these two words, had exchanged the places of these two words. We should have been here and are should have been here. But just to maintain the rhyming of the poem, he has used are first and we afterwards. So when we change the places of words to maintain the rhyming scheme, it is known as inversion. So here inversion has been used. Flowery band is creating an image in our mind. So it is imagery. Band to bind, alliteration again, alright. Then noble natures, again alliteration, right. Now here gloomy days, transferred epithet. When wrong adjective is given to something, it is known as transferred epithet. Days cannot be sad. Humans can be sad. Gloomy means what, children? Sad. Can the days be sad? No, days cannot be sad. Humans can be sad. So here we saw that the incorrect adjective had been given to days. That's why it is known as transferred epithet. And here anaphora has been used. What do you mean by anaphora, children? When two lines, two or more lines in a poem begins with same word, it is known as anaphora. Here we saw the two lines are beginning with of, of. This line also is beginning with of and this line is also beginning with of. So what literary device has been used, children? Anaphora. So that's all for these two paragraphs, children. What have I told you? In these two paragraphs, what we learnt is that a thing of beauty is a source of joy forever. It gives us everlasting and eternal joy, and it will never turn into nothingness. For us, it will remain a source of joy forever. Alright? And the thing of beauty is always remains in our minds. Alright? It is always flashing upon our memories. Clear? The way, and it gives us such a soothing, feel. It gives us such a soothing feel the way we are sitting under a tree. Suppose it is very hot weather and we are sitting under a tree. Doesn't it gives us a soothing feel? Yes. In the same way, whenever you think about your thing of beauty, whenever you think about nature, it gives us solace the way we find when we are sitting under a tree. So it is like a bower on our memories. And it has been compared to sweet dreams in sweet sleep. Alright. It has been compared to good health, the way we feel when we are healthy. In the same way we feel when we are in nature, isn't it? We feel so fresh when we are in nature, as if we are at our best health. We are able to breathe properly when we are in nature, isn't it? So it has been compared to fresh breathing also. Clear? In the second paragraph, again John Keats is saying that of course we will come across disappointments, sadness, we are going to face gloomy days, we are going to come across darkness, but in spite of all this, we are going to search a way out of all this, and we are going to search a way to think of beauty, that is nature. We are going to search our way to nature because it gives us everlasting joy. So this has been mentioned in these two paragraphs.